It's time for your Roll for Crit news roundup. We are a little bit delayed from our normal release schedule due to some issues over here related to power outages. We are currently operating with all of our equipment connected to one outlet right now, so if something bursts into flames, you will know why. But at any rate, it is indeed time for your board game news for the week of February 25th, 2019.
Starting off with Wizards of the Coast made an interesting announcement. They have said that they are going to end having an MSRP, that is a manufacturer suggested retail price for their products, starting with the War of the Spark Magic the Gathering set, which is to be coming out shortly, and all sets afterwards. This means that they will not be saying that these packs should be sold, according to them, at $3 or $125 for a box or whatever the prices may be. This does seem like one of those things where now the reason they can do this since they don't have an MSRP, they can raise the price in the back end. And if people complain about the prices in the stores, they can just say, that's the store setting them. It's not our MSRP or anything.
Yeah. So this is a very weird and interesting announcement, and I can't think of, even outside of the board game world, what products exist that don't have an MSRP. Like everything does, right?
Unless you count things that like homemade,
secondhand, yeah, or like Etsy or something like that, yeah. So this is
and they say that because they're becoming more global, which is funny because they recently released a Magic product a little while back, some promos that weren't shipping outside of the US and Canada, so much for global. But apparently some countries don't like MSRP, and I don't know what country doesn't like MSRP.
Right, so the idea is, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So a site like Amazon or whatever, or your local gaming store, anything that sells Magic cards, comic book shops, they can just say this pack, because this set's really popular, we're going to sell it for $15 a pack. I don't know, that's a crazy. But
actually, there was packs that
so
you're not.
A potential.
In fact, people are like, no, that's par for the course for certain sets.
Or they might say, nobody's buying this, we're selling it for 10 cents or something. Like you're giving these away because nobody liked this set. That's kind of the idea? And is that supposed to make the retailers happy? Who are they trying to appease here?
I think themselves.
Okay.
This is solely for themselves.
Okay.
Because what they can do, I already know that for hearing a lot from local game stores and stuff, that Magic's Wizards of the Coast would raise on the end, pretty much making the profit margin to sell the packs very small. So what Wizards is doing is saying, like, I'll tell you what, we're going to make MSRP not exist, so you can sell it at whatever you want to get the profit margin you want. But of course, that means that they can raise it to whatever they want. In particular, then you have to look at how they're making deals with like Amazon, Walmart, all the major retailers, and then maybe like they don't have to sell for $3 anymore. If they want to sell it for $1, as you said, they can. That's what they can do. In which, if you're a local game store, like, I can't sell it for $1 though. You don't sell it for me at the price that makes sense for me.
Yeah. So that okay.
Like, it just seems like because they didn't say much. This is like a paragraph.
It was for something that seems like a major announcement. They did not really talk about
until
it.
I hear maybe an economist or someone who's majors in business tell me otherwise in the comments. This just seems like something that isn't consumer friendly. Like, I need someone to explain to me why this is best for everyone. Because other than that, all I can see is negative.
What effect do you think this has on the singles market, or a resale of people?
The singles market, I'm not sure, because that's all secondhand, and that's more of what's in the meta, I think. And but if for the new sets coming out, the big one in particular I'll mention is Commander 2019, because one of the big issues with Magic is reprints. That's one thing that affects the market. But if they're able to adjust the price such that the Commander decks, instead of selling for, I think they're like 30 to 40, I can't remember off the top of my head, for a regular deck of cards. But let's say that they know that this deck with the singles in it, so they look at the singles market like, oh, this deck technically sells for $120, so they can up the price like that. Maybe those singles won't. Because usually when you add more to the market, it would drop the price, right? If they make the decks more expensive, then it might not actually affect the singles market, which is what people want. People want cards to be cheaper so they can make their decks.
Yeah, you would think.
I mean, I'm sorry, the customers.
Right. No, yes. Yeah, right.
Customers want it.
Yeah, nobody else. But people selling it don't want that. Yeah, it is so weird. And I wonder if this is something that, if it were successful for them, is it something that only Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast could manage, or would we see like Pokemon Company?
Also, I'm really confused about is, it sounded like, I don't know, I have to double check if this is just Magic Does Transformers still have an MSRP?
As far as I know,
D&D?
strictly Magic.
Strictly Magic.
Yeah, but it is weird. Maybe they'll reverse this in a year. Maybe it'll.
Yeah, maybe they're testing. But I wish they would say
It's a big test.
It is, but if they literally said we're testing MSRP, that'd be like, oh, because then it could be sort of for themselves, but they're seeing what happens, and that's actually a good thing. But if they're saying we're not testing, they're saying we're doing them, like they know the outcome then.
Yeah, it's so.
Or they think they know the outcome. I mean.
It's really weird. We'll see how it turns out. I'm very curious.
Yeah, let us know if you think you know why they're to MSRP, because you actually have some knowledge in finance and stuff in the comments down below, because we really want to hear, because right now all we have are tinfoil hats.
Now onto the role-playing division of Wizards of the Coast. There's a brand new Dungeons & Dragons book that was actually leaked a little bit early by Amazon, but has since been officially announced by Wizards of the Coast. It's called Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and this one is actually comprised of multiple adventures that are classic adventures from old editions of D&D, remade into a brand new version for the 5th edition. It includes taking place in of course, the realm of Saltmarsh, as the title might imply, and it also has a heavy theme of the ocean and traveling on boats. So there's going to be new rules for sea travel, as well as, of course, new monsters and, as I said, these new adventures. So you can play each of these adventures as a standalone if you'd like, or mix them into your campaign however you want. Or if you actually play through each one as the book goes on, it will take your adventurers from level 1 to level 12, which is actually a lot bigger. Most of these D&D books that come out take you from level 1 to 5, and then if you play through multiple, they can keep going. But for 12 levels in one book is a lot. It's going to be an MSRP of $49.95.
Are you sure about that?
This one I'm sure about that, and it's going to be released in May 21st. But I think there's a lot of really cool sounding stuff in this one that I'm excited about.
I mean, the seat battle is always, I think, a great addition. I mean, there's a reason why everyone loved all that in Assassin's Creed games. And they can't get rid of it, apparently.
Yeah.
But reprinting all old stories, I think, is great for new and old, whether it's reliving those old tales, but except in maybe a more streamlined, sharper edition, or for the new people who haven't had the chance to play those because they just aren't available and actually have sort of be able to connect again with the roots of D&D.
Yeah, from what I know, Saltmarsh sounds like it was a really popular setting, but of course they say that about all of their new releases. This was so popular, you must buy it. But I think that is true.
Well, and like you said, even if worse comes to worse, you can use the book more of as a maybe not as price-wise, it's a bit more expensive, but there's a reference to be like, okay, I don't want to use their world, but I'm going to take the sea combat for my campaign, or this monster, or like you did with your sandworm.
Yeah, of course. I think the price actually is in line with their other books that they've released.
No, but I meant like in terms of buying an actual monster codex or something, which is strictly not a campaign, so it costs a little bit more for less what you're getting.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could still use
as a collector too, for me, I'm just like, yeah, I'd want every book.
I think the fact that you can go, like I said, 12 levels in one book makes this maybe the most bang for your buck out of any of their
if you're actually going to use
campaign releases.
Absolutely, no question.
Which is pretty cool. So as we said, it's coming out in May, and I'm looking forward to seeing what those Ghosts of Saltmarsh are all about.
Our next story is sticking with RPGs, but we're going to a bit more of a dark, scandalous nature. Zach Smith, who is a famous RPG player, tester, designer, and also porn star, has been accused of some significant charges, including sexual assault and abuse. Mandy Morbid, who is an ex-partner of his, made a tweet about 2 weeks ago describing her relationship with him, which goes into graphic detail, some pretty significant events and some pretty bad things. You can read it yourself, but because of this, pretty much everyone he's worked with is either like, there's one person who worked with the RPG with him who says, I'm going to donate all of my profit I get from this to a charity. Wizards of the Coast has announced, so once again, we're going back to them, they will no longer be printing his name on future books that he helped test with. What's interesting is that some people also who defended him in the past, I read, also are instantly like, no, yeah, this makes sense for him to do that. No one, it doesn't seem anyone's going to bat for him.
This is a crazy story, and it's something we've kind of talked about it a little bit on this show in the past about how, this is kind of something that seems to be coming to the surface in a lot of industries right now.
yeah.
And it seems like almost inevitable it's going to come here and there in the tabletop world as well. I had never heard of this guy. I didn't realize that, he was a tester. I mean, part of me is sort of two minds about this. Obviously, this guy's a bad guy, and I certainly don't.
Did you actually read the tweet that?
I did not read the actual tweet, but
and some of that stuff is
clearly it's bad. I certainly can't blame anybody for saying we're not going to publish your work anymore. I don't know that. I mean, Wizards of the Coast. I think it's good PR for them but it was just his name in the back of the book. To me, it partly seems like.
So it's more of that you think Wizards of the Coast is taking advantage of situations.
Well, I think that's their perspective, but I guess what I'm saying is maybe I shouldn't getting into some real controversy here, but he did do the work, so I don't know if there's a legal contract in terms of are they obligated to print his name as the testing?
You're less of a morality of whether literally what's the legal definition? Can you remove someone from credits in a movie or something?
Yeah, I can see saying we're not going to work with him in the future, but if he was one of the testers, maybe he might come back and try to sue for that or something. I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking about. But clearly, don't get me wrong, I'm not on this guy's side. That's clearly some very scary and terrible things.
You seem to be so far the closest person to be on his side with that argument.
Of the two of us.
No, I mean, that's most of them that I read. I mean, Wizards was the one, but a lot of them are more we're going to donate the money we make from any of his RPGs. We're not going to post any more of his, or go to any convention supporting him and stuff. I think one group said. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of things like that. So I think Wizards is the only one I recall that seems to be more of a so to say a backpedal, I guess you could say. And
I think it's an easy because he didn't actually do any of the design work. He was just a play tester.
It's not Richard Garfield.
Yeah, right. They don't have to. They didn't unearth some documents about Gary Gygax that we didn't know about. But yeah, I mean, it's really bad. And hopefully, I mean, it's good that we're at a point where we can talk about these things and action can be taken. But hopefully, you never want to read these stories. It's always bad news, and hopefully we hear less of it in the future, but if it's out there, hopefully it comes up and gets resolved.
Less of it because it's not happening as much.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the ideal. Ninja Division, the publisher behind games such as the Super Dungeon series and several others, has announced that they are in some financial troubles. In a recent Kickstarter update on one of their campaigns, they talked about their whole financial history and what they're dealing with right now, the fact that they had some recent layoffs to contend with in 2018, and the fact that a few of their latest Kickstarter projects have yet to be fulfilled. Even ones that have been prior to starting new ones, backers have not received. So they're in a bit of hot water there. And following on that, IDW, who announced previously that they were going to be working with Ninja Division on games such as the upcoming Ghostbusters Men in Black crossover board game, have said they are no longer working with them. They have cut ties on that relationship, basically because they think that Ninja Division is, my words, not trustworthy, and maybe their financial issues are making them harder to work with, and maybe gamers are less willing to put their money forth into games that they are associated with. We've heard some horror stories with Kickstarters before. This is another one that seems particularly scary because Ninja Division, I think before this, we would agree, seemed like a respectable big name.
They had booths at convention,
Yeah, it's not some indie publisher, they're a big company, and the fact that they made new Kickstarters while old ones weren't fulfilled yet is always a bad sign. And if you look at their update, they have some frequently asked questions, and one of them is, "Are you bankrupt?" And their answer is no. But I feel like if that's a question, then that's a bad sign. If you have to tell people you're not, it sounds like maybe they will be in the near future. So it looks bad, honestly.
Yeah, and going to the Reddit post about this, someone brought up that is pretty much, they think it was like a Ponzi scheme. In essence, they used one Kickstarter to fund a previous Kickstarter.
And I think we've seen that
which
before.
Is literally what Ponzi, what the original, what the man who made that scheme pretty much did.
It's a practice I think we've seen a couple other companies do too, and usually it ends very badly.
Yeah, I mean, this one of the scary things is usually you can spot a bad when it's like they haven't done anything before or some weird things, but this is like a major company. And I know other people have been worried about that too with other Kickstarters. I know Sandy Peterson, a lot of people have been worried because there's some delays and stuff, but one of the things he does, which is nice, is literally on every other Kickstarter that he did ahead, if there wasn't, it was like, here's what we've done, fulfill, this is shipping, so you literally get updates on the other ones, which makes it a little better, but I don't know if I haven't looked at any of Ninja Division's Kickstarters.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, it's not like they've never fulfilled a Kickstarter, you know, like you're saying.
No, I've got one.
Yeah, they've had successful ones, so like you said, it's so hard, because you know, it's always a risk with these Kickstarters, but man, it really is, it's always rough for these backers.
Yeah, I wonder where did they overestimate, like, what they think they could do? Did money go to places where it shouldn't have?
Yeah, I'm sure it was a number of factors involved. But the fact that IDW said no, we're done, really makes it seem like that's a nail in the coffin, in my opinion. Like, I would be surprised. I feel like within the year there might not be a Ninja Division anymore. I mean, it just seems all the signs look bad.
Are we keeping the Samurai Division?
Yeah, Pirate Division. We'll keep some other ones alive, but yeah, it is very, very unfortunate.
I wonder if, assuming they actually go bankrupt and sell out, because I know some other Kickstarters, I'll keep them nameless, but have someone else picked up and the email's like, we're gonna fulfill, you know, what they couldn't promise, so you're gonna have to email. I wonder if someone will do that for these games.
It could be. It seems like not knowing much.
Because the games that I do have had those issues, none of them were miniature games.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like these games are the Super Dungeon series, you know, it seems very specific to Ninja Division, that look of those chibi miniatures in this series, and I think it would be difficult for another company and like you said, miniatures, they got to reproduce all that, but hopefully these people who backed this aren't just stuck, and because that's an outcome that could happen.
So we're sorry to give so much bad news this week, from our own delay of the news to all this scandal and weird things that we're not sure are going to go on with MSRP and stuff, which actually that may be good, but as far as I know, maybe I'm just pessimistic from here reading all this stuff.
Yeah, the one bright spot was new D&D book.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, it's rough. It's real rough. Talk to us in the comments. Which of these stories hit you the hardest? How depressed are you this week? Are you having power outages, or are you just fine where you are and we're the only ones suffering? Talk to us in those comments or social media, etc.
But until then, let us, even in these dark times, remind you, you are a great meeple. And I'm Will.
And I'm Jonathan.
And this is Roll for Crit News.
Don't forget to click that like button and, of course, subscribe for even more excellent videos.
I subscribed and now I'm rich.